Well, we certainly have focused so much on interest rates and inflation, the Bank of Canada and the U.S. Federal Reserve. But it's also, of course, important to keep our eyes on what the government's doing as it relates to your taxes. So in other words, in addition to the inflation effects that you're feeling, whether it's cost of food or at the gas pump, you're also seeing your taxes increase. And specifically one that's coming to a theater near you is the alcohol tax. I want to bring in a guest who I've talked to for a number of years now, Scott Hennig. He's the president and CEO of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, which is a nonprofit and nonpartisan organization. Scott, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us, and a lot of important topics that I want to bring up today and get your opinion on so people really understand what's going on.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. Thanks, Catherine. And you've really nailed it here with the alcohol tax, which we're going to be seeing it going up here April 1st unless the government steps in and stops it.
And so, first of all, a couple of things. I just want people to understand your organization. Then we're going to get into that tax for a second. Mm-hmm. But what's your mandate?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization dedicated to lower taxes, less government waste, more government accountability. We're fully funded by individual Canadians who cut checks to us every year. In fact, 25,000 individual Canadians last year sent a donation and keep the lights on at the organization and let us go out there and fight on their behalf for sanity at our public sector levels.
Yeah, which is important. It's really important to have the accountability. I mean, it certainly makes sense for some taxes maybe to increase depending on what the needs are. That is for sure. And I think a lot of people actually do know about this alcohol tax. But let's talk a little bit about it because it's not as though this is new. I mean, the taxes have been increasing easily since 2017. So take us back in terms of what the alcohol tax actually is right now so people know they're already paying a lot.
Yeah, sure. So if we just talk about just the base level alcohol taxes across the country, on beer, it's about 50%. So about half of what you're paying on every can of beer or bottle of beer you're buying is going to governments of various, either the provincial or the federal government. On wine, it's closer to 2/3 of the price is tax. And then on spirits, it's over 75% is tax right now. So the majority of the money that you're paying if you buy a bottle of good Canadian whiskey is going to the government in some level. And until 2017, governments had to go in. If they wanted to raise that tax, they had to go into Parliament. They had to pass a budget. They had to have a vote and be transparent about what they wanted to do. Starting in 2017, the government put in what we refer to as the escalator tax. So it increases automatically the taxes on all alcohol on April 1st every year based on the inflation rate. And as you referenced here, that has been a pretty significant hit this year. And because of that, we're going to see a 6.3% increase on all liquor taxes come April 1st based on the inflation rate for this past year.
Which is quite astonishing, just given the fact that, we're seeing prices rise in basically every other area of our lives, whether it's rent, homes. Well, maybe that's changing a little bit now, but certainly gas and food costs. And it's interesting because you're actually seeing lower taxes in other governments around the world, recognizing whether it's gas or food or liquor, recognizing that it's tough times for a lot of people.
Yeah, particularly on the energy side, on the gas and heating side. We've seen more than a dozen countries around the world cut their taxes. Even here in Canada, we saw the Alberta government, the Ontario government, Newfoundland, just to name a few, cutting taxes on gas because we're seeing extraordinary prices, and governments don't need to be collecting extra taxes on the backs of Canadians who are struggling. I mean, food prices is a really good example, whether it's milk or meat or eggs here most recently. These are staples that people need, and energy in this country is also something that's not really a luxury good. We don't hear about people taking Sunday drives anymore and just driving around the country, having a good time on a Sunday, burning up a bunch of gas. Gas is a necessity. We live in the second largest landmass country in the world, and it's one of the coldest, as we all know. And heating and driving is not really a luxury item for most Canadians. And that's why, some governments have done the right thing and cut the taxes. Other ones, our federal government, looking to also increase our carbon tax on April 1st, as well as looking to bring in a second tax on gas later this year with their clean fuel standards. So they're doing the opposite of what we're seeing in a lot of countries and a lot of provinces.
Absolutely. And, it impacts everybody. And it also really impacts a lot of the people who live in more rural communities.